Today on The Trader, remembering a pinnacle moment in the history of Star Trek with Wrath of Khan director Nicolas Meyer.
Because people said you can't kill Spock. I said, yeah, sure you can kill him. The only question is whether you kill him well.
And the show that refused to compromise. Behind the scenes of Quantum Leap with writer Chunovic.
For a quiet little science fiction show minding its own business, they were often in hot water with their network and with their production company.
All this and more on today's episode of the Sci Fi Trader. Sherlock Holmes, Jack the Ripper, H.G. Wells, time travel, Star Trek, and World War III. Wouldn't you like to know how those things are related? Hi, I'm Warren James, and welcome to The Trader. So what's the common thread between those disparate things in our opening? Well, they've all been source material for the works of one of my very favorite writer-directors, Nicolas Meyer. Nicolas Meyer is an amazing talent. In movies like Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Time After Time, he takes characters and situations created by other people and finds new and wondrous twists in their stories. And he can create new characters that take on a life of their own the instant we meet them. Today, we'll be offering two products from the Star Trek films that he directed, including an autographed copy of the script for Wrath of Khan. Nicolas, I'm glad you could join us today so we could talk about your movies.
Well, it's very flattering to be asked.
When you were doing Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, you had an existing situation and an existing set of characters. How did you manage to allow these characters to grow and change and revitalize them while staying true to the existing situation of Star Trek?
Somebody said that where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. I had never seen Star Trek, and I didn't know anything about it until I was offered to come aboard with this film. And so I looked at it I looked at the feature film, and then I looked at the episode Space Seed with Ricardo Montalban, which they wanted to use as the springboard for a new movie, and I said, oh, this reminds me of those books I read when I was a kid, The Adventures of Captain Horatio Hornblower, which was the C.S. Forester, the guy who wrote The African Queen, wrote a series of novels about a Napoleonic sea captain in the British Navy during the Napoleonic Wars.
Gene Roddenberry had said that Hornblower was in fact a model.
Well, I didn't know that until I sat down with Bill Shatner the first time I met him and said, I see this as Horatio Hornblower in outer space.
When Star Trek II was being made, there was a lot of rumors going on about Leonard Nimoy wanted out of Star Trek. He wanted to die.
I never heard anything about contractual obligations or any of that stuff. When I was writing the screenplay, it seemed the logical, you should pardon the reference, sort of outcome of the story we were working on. And we took several elements that had been given to us. One was we want to do something with Khan, the return of Khan. The other one was Kirk finds his son. The other one was the Genesis planet. And the other one was that Spock died. And spin a story that would accommodate all these things, and probably a couple of other things too that I've left out. And the death of Spock seemed to, I said, because people said you can't kill Spock, I said, yeah, sure you can kill him. The only question is whether you kill him well. If you kill him and it is perceived as a function of some clause in Leonard Nimoy's contract, they'll throw things at the screen and they'll be right to do it. If, on the other hand, the death of Spock proceeds organically from the rest of the material in the film, you can do anything. The question is whether you do it well. I'll never forget the first preview, because the real question was how the audience would respond to my prediction that it was just about killing him well. There's a moment when you see the empty chair on the bridge where you suddenly realize what's going down. And I thought, well, if they're going to yell and hiss, it's going to happen now. And there was not a murmur. There was that pin-dropping silence.
You put a lot of interesting details into Star Trek VI, like we got to see parts of the ship we hadn't seen before.
I can't stand that bridge set where most Star Trek movies take place is the bridge of the Enterprise. It's the most unfortunate set. It's a 360-degree set, which means you are spending all your time covering. And because the captain is plunked in that chair, he can't do anything. So every time I've worked on a Star Trek movie, I have been at pains to get off that effing bridge. So I want to say, where do they sleep? Where do they eat? Where do they do those other things?
And so you took us into the bunk room, and we saw like the blankets on their beds and things.
Well, that's a lead into the product. I get that. Okay, I can talk about the product.
Hey, it's TV.
This is what happened. At the end of the Star Trek movie, at the end of every movie I do, you get a souvenir. You're the director. You get to say, well, this is what I want. You know, in this particular film, Star Trek VI, what I wanted when the film was over is I said, I want one of the blankets from the crew's quarters because they look so cool. And the prop man said to me, well, you can have it, but it's not a real blanket. The stencil will come off when you wash it. And I was very disappointed. I really wanted, I thought I'd sleep better, you know.
With a Star Trek
blanket.
blanket.
I could sleep the way the crew of the Enterprise. And so I went to Paramount and I said, listen, if I give you an idea for a product, what do I get out of it? If, you know, besides offering me a sample, you know, of the product. And they said, well, what do you think you should get? And I said, I don't know, you know, 10%. What this really means, you know, is that you can either buy the blanket or send me $1 off the top, and we'll call the whole thing stump. Anyway.
And your address, and they can send those checks too.
There are 3 stages of every idea. You know, the first stage is that this is a bad idea. The second stage is it's a good idea, but it's not worth doing. And the third stage is, how come we weren't always doing this? So I began by being told that the Star Trek blanket was a bad idea, and I kept pushing on it for a year. All I really wanted was my blanket. So if you buy it or you don't buy it, there's no skin off my nose.
You got your blanket, so you don't
mine.
care.
That was what I cared about. My kids got it, and so. Because that's the problem with most souvenirs, I think, is that they're either useless and they wind up on your shelf collecting dust and they go to a garage sale in a couple of years, or they have no organic relationship to the film. It's just about, you know, the Star Trek mouse for your computer. What's that got to do with Star Trek? But this was the blanket. This is from the quarters. I could wrap myself up in this and sleep.
Hey, and winter's coming on. It's getting chilly. It's this just perfect thing for the winter. Nicolas, thanks for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for making the nice movies you've made. You're a favorite of mine.
Thanks.
And now, here's Jim and Darla with some wonderful products from the mind of one of my favorite filmmakers. Jim?
Among Trekkers, the name Nicolas Meyer is equally revered as Gene Roddenberry's. The Trader has put together an exciting exclusive Wrath of Khan package featuring the movie script, signed by director Nicolas Meyer, and the soundtrack on CD. Both together for just $29.95 by calling. The script has a gold-embossed, die-cut cover and contains many exciting full-color and black-and-white production stills, with full filmographies of key cast and crew members. This script, signed by Nicolas himself, is sure to become one of the great Star Trek collectibles ever offered.
But to make this great offer even more irresistible, we're adding the Wrath of Khan soundtrack, with music composed and conducted by Academy Award nominee James Horner. This is an unabridged digital recording that is sure to give you pleasure for many years to come. These 2 Wrath of Khan items together are yours for just $29.95 by calling. We also have an additional offer for you that we feel is an extra special treat for the Star Trek fans, especially around the cold holiday season. This crew blanket from the Starship Enterprise that Nicolas Meyer so lovingly talked about is the perfect thing to curl up with and watch your favorite Star Trek movie or read an autographed Star Trek script. This authentic replica, as seen in Star Trek VI, is screen printed with the ship's logo and is made from a comfortable wool blend, and is a generous 5 by 6 feet, which makes it big enough for 2. This authentic Starfleet crew blanket is yours for $69.95 and a call. So that's 2 very special offers. The Nicolas Meyer signed script and Wrath of Khan CD for $29.95 and the authentic Starfleet crew blanket for $69.95. If you're a Trekker or know someone who is, don't pass up these fantastic, very rare offers.
Up next, we're going to take a quantum leap into our past. Quantum Leap which airs on the Sci Fi Channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, is one of those amazing science fiction shows that has broad appeal outside of the normal science fiction audience. These shows not only showed us glimpses of our recent history, but also how individuals shaped that history. Joining me now is Louis Chunovic, who has written a book about Quantum Leap. We're pleased to be offering his book along with a CD of music from this series. Louis, I'm glad you could join us today so we could talk about Quantum Leap.
Pleased to be here, Warren.
You know, science fiction often is able to do controversial or risky stories, and Quantum Leap was no exception to that. What were some of the risky stories that they told?
Well, they told just about every story that you could imagine being on the editorial pages of your local newspaper. Stories about prejudice and stories about the issues of the day. They tackled gay rights, they tackled sexual harassment, they tackled interracial dating, and sometimes when they took on these subjects, they paid a price for it.
How did they end up paying the price? What happened? Did they have?
Well, they literally paid the price and lost advertising dollars, and for a quiet little science fiction show minding its own business, they were often in hot water with their network and with their production company, and with some parts of the public that were threatening to boycott now and again.
Were there any stories that they wanted to do that they ended up not being able to do because of controversy?
Controversy, I don't know about that. If there were any, they remain deep, dark secrets. I tend to think not. There were shows they couldn't do for other reasons, though.
Such as?
They wanted to do an animated show. They didn't do that. That would have been probably prohibitively expensive. They wanted to do a show where Sam, played by Scott Bakula, leaps in as a baby. And for that episode, they would have had to build giant sets, all out of proportion. And again, it would have probably cost too much to do.
Thinking about the sets and the production, you were there when they filmed a number of the episodes. What was it like behind the scenes at the production of Quantum Leap?
The thing you have to remember about series TV, particularly hour-long episodic TV, is that they turn out what amounts to a movie every 2 weeks, and the pace is brutal. We're talking about days that begin at dawn or before, and sometimes go to midnight or after, so the cast and crew can get a little testy. That never happened, or at least I never saw it happen on Quantum Leap, and there's a very good reason. The chemistry of a TV show percolates from the top down. Scott Bakula, Dean Stockwell, the two recurring leads, were easygoing, professional guys. They set the tone of the show. They were light, they were loose, they were funny, and the people enjoyed working with them.
Louis, thanks for joining us here on The Trader. I've really enjoyed reading your book. It was nice to look back at Quantum Leap.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here.
Thank you. And now, for all of you who want to own your own copy of Louis's comprehensive guide to one of our favorite science fiction shows, here's Darla.
Quantum Leap has been one of television's most popular shows, and now The Trader has put together a fabulous Quantum Leap offering, including the Quantum Leap book by Louis Chunovic and a CD filled with the great music from that television series, both together for only $29.95, and a call. Quantum Leap book, signed by author Louis Chunovic, is the official publication of the television series and considered the definitive work on the show. This oversized volume features interviews with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell and many others, a synopsis of over 50 episodes, including the pilot, hundreds of photos, storyboards, sketches, and behind-the-scenes stories. The Quantum Leap CD includes the main title theme, music from famous episodes, plus performances by Scott Bakula, including Somewhere in the Night, among many others, and a conversation with Scott Bakula. Both the signed book and the CD are yours together for the fabulous price of $29.95. Just call, which will leap into your mailbox.
Up next, phasers, movie memories, and the lure of the dark side. Welcome back. You know, movie props are an important part of creating believable films, and they range in quality from works of art to pieces that were crudely made. because of time constraints or because they were going to be used in a stunt sequence. But since you don't see them up close, you never notice this. I suppose that proves that a difference that makes no difference is no difference. Playmates has released replicas of the phasers and communicators from Star Trek, and they were created using original props and design specifications. Jim's going to be showing you 2 actual units from Star Trek in a few minutes. And remarkably, you'll see that in many ways, the Playmates toys are better looking and more sophisticated than the real things. Lieutenant Hahn, open hailing frequencies and communicate with our viewers.
Will do, Commander. The Trader has combined 2 dynamic hand prop toys from classic Star Trek, the phaser and the communicator. Both together are yours for just $29.95. The classic phaser is every Trekker's dream. It includes a lighted adjustable beam emitter, 2 original phaser sounds taken from the actual show, a certificate of authenticity, plus a bonus technical blueprint. The communicator includes 3 original communicator sounds, a working emergency signal, and an LED light. Both of these replicas are rich in detail and accuracy. They're built from the original design plans used to create the actual hand props that were used on the classic Star Trek TV series. Yours for only $29.95 by calling are included. Now here's Jim with a bit of Star Trek history.
Darla, Playmates really goes the extra mile when it comes to quality reproductions of original Star Trek props. Now, 2 of the most sought after and difficult to find props are these: an original Type 2 pistol phaser from the first season and a communicator from the classic Star Trek. What you may not know is the name of the brilliant gent who designed these. His name is Wah Chang. Wah also designed the field kit tricorder and built many of the other props and creatures for Trek. Wah was also on the Academy Award-winning effects team for The Time Machine and, as if that wasn't enough, The Outer Limits. Wah designed and built the glass hand used in the episode Demon with a Glass Hand, and much, much more. Today, an original phaser or a communicator commands up to $4,000. Check out the craftsmanship of the originals in comparison to the Playmates versions. You've got to hand it to them. It's a great way to save $7,970.05 for the pair. You know, I could buy a lot of props with that. Hey, wait a minute. Back to you, Warren.
Thanks, Jim. LucasArts has just released a space combat simulator based on the notorious TIE fighters from Star Wars. And this game is really hot. It has great graphics and incorporates music and sound effects from the movies. TIE Fighter combines the action of Star Wars space battles with a storyline that could easily be another film in the Star Wars saga. As a new pilot, you'll learn basic flight skills in the training simulator. Here, you'll fly through a virtual reality tunnel and learn to control your craft while shooting various targets. Now you're ready for the combat chamber. Here, you'll fly simulated missions in different Imperial spacecraft against various rebel forces. Once underway, you'll have complete control of your spacecraft. You pick the targets you want to attack and how you're going to do it. You control a selection of weapons and can even trade off weapons' power for speed, or vice versa. On some missions, you'll have wingmen to assist you, and you'll be able to direct them to attack specific targets or to cover your Imperial behind. After you've honed your skills in the combat chamber, it's time to fly an actual mission against the Rebel Alliance. How you perform on one mission will affect how things turn out on the next. TIE Fighter is one of the best space combat computer games I've ever played. And no matter how often you fly the missions in TIE Fighter, each time will be different. This is one game that won't grow stale the more you play it. I know you're going to be anxious to jump into your own TIE Fighter simulator. Darla, tell our viewers how.
The dark side beckons you with Star Wars TIE Fighter, the unbelievable sequel to X-Wing by LucasArts for only $59.95. This thrilling computer game for your IBM PC compatible is definitely an e-ticket on the excitement meter. The Rebel Alliance has threatened the very foundation of the Empire. As an Imperial Navy TIE Fighter pilot, you are in charge of safeguarding imperiled lives throughout the galaxy. TIE Fighter has enhanced 3D graphics, a soundtrack based on John Williams' original score, and over 50 adrenaline-pumping missions that you can fly. Remember, only the Emperor can save us from total chaos and destruction. Join his cause in eliminating this rebel uprising as the Empire strikes back in TIE Fighter. Yours for only $59.95 and a call to away. We'll be right back. If you'd like any of the items we served up today, give us a jingle. And as always, this includes all of our Sci-Fi Channel gear, including watches, hats, and shirts. Now here's a second look at the items that we featured today. The Star Trek Wrath of Khan manuscript signed by director Nicolas Meyer and soundtrack CD from the original motion picture score, together just $29.95. The Starfleet throw blanket as seen in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, complete with the Enterprise logo, yours for only $69.95. The Quantum Leap book and music from the television show Quantum Leap, both together for $29.95. Beam down to any planet, even this one, with complete confidence and security with these detailed replicas of the Star Trek classic phaser and communicator, both together just $29.95. Join forces with the dark side and squash the Rebel Alliance. TIE Fighter, the fast-paced PC computer game from LucasArts, is only $59.95. And remember, at the Trader, you can pay by credit card, personal check, or money order. And everything comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now here's Warren to share a thought from one of today's guests.
Nicolas Meyer, in his film Time After Time, wrote some of the truest words ever spoken on film. Every age is the same. It's only love that makes any of them bearable. Till next time, I'm Warren James, and this is the Sci-Fi Trader. Look for the love in your life. It's worth the search.
Watch the mysteries of the universe unfold as the Sci-Fi Channel takes you on an amazing journey through the cosmos. Inside Space, tonight at 10 Eastern. Now stay tuned for amazing stories next on the Sci-Fi Channel.